special delivery. Let's go, Dutch.
Willem, by any chance, did you...
Oh, good. Are those our tickets to Amsterdam?
We're going to Amsterdam? It's winter, you know.
Winter schminter.
But you hate the cold.
Yeah, that I do.
Well, okay. I'm Veronica Lewis, and today on Let's Go Dutch, it's winter in Amsterdam.
I'm gonna travel the world. I'm gonna go where the Dutch have been, and I'm gonna share it with you, my friends. Let's go Dutch. Let's go Dutch. Let's go Dutch.
We'll go ice skating in the shadow of the famous Rijksmuseum. We'll see the spectacular Festival of Lights, which goes from late November to January. We'll take a day trip to the old trading port city of Dordrecht. So put on your clogs and let's go Dutch. Amsterdam. Well, no snow. Goed. Once we get settled in, we're going to go rent bikes and ride around. A bike ride is the best way to fend off jet lag, and the cool, brisk air will be quite refreshing after such a long plane ride. While warm weather with all the trees in bloom is the most desirable, Amsterdam is even more magical in the winter months. The bare trees, with their intricate skeletons, allow perfect views of the historic houses lining the canals. We're here just after Christmas, and the city is adorned with festive lights. With New Year's Eve just days away, the city is starting to swell as revelers pour in. If you've been to Amsterdam before, then you can just relax and go at your own pace. On the other hand, if you've never been to Amsterdam and you hate the cold, then you definitely want to go to the Rijksmuseum, the Anne Frank House, and the Van Gogh Museum. Now, speaking of the Rijksmuseum, have I got a winter treat for you? If you've ever watched the Winter Olympics, then you know those long-legged, orange-clad speed skaters are major competition. Skating is serious in the Netherlands. While global climate change has meant the canals rarely freeze over enough to skate on, there is an ice rink at the back of the Rijksmuseum. Rent a pair of ice skates and let your inner Hans Brinker emerge. Oh, what a backdrop! The Rijksmuseum. If you haven't gone there yet, be sure to skate over and see Rembrandt's huge masterpiece, The Night Watch. Well, it turns out my inner Hans Brinker is a bit rusty, and the thick layer of snow doesn't help. Seeing the kids with chairs on the ice, I thought, that looks pretty good. After a while, it's become more comfortable, and so bye-bye to the chair, but don't go too far.
Hey, did you know most Dutch are born in winter and come out of the womb on skates? Like turtles making their way instinctively to the ocean, the Dutch make their way to the canals, where they skate until fully grown.
Oh, yeah? Well, how about the fact that the canals rarely freeze over now?
Oh, well then they're born in the summer and come riding out of the womb on a bike.
I suppose they make their way to the canals and ride until fully grown?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Willem. Wow, that was fun. And what a backdrop to skate to. We're gonna head north now, towards Dam Square. We're going to get a bite to eat, and then we have the Amsterdam Light Festival to see. First, however, a word of the day is in order. Our woord vandaag is alstublieft. It means please. Alstublieft. That's certainly a word you will use quite often. Don't forget dank u wel. It will most likely come up soon after. When it comes to food, there are no limits in Amsterdam. From raw herring to gourmet and everything in between. From November to January, when the sun goes down, the Amsterdam Light Festival takes over. A great way to view the light show is on the canals. You can also pick up a map at the tourist office and walk or bike the route. Started in 2012, each year there is a different theme. This year the theme is Disrupt, meaning both negative disruptions in life to stirring up old and outdated conceptions. Disrupt is meant to make you uneasy. The Netherlands, along with most of Europe, are very conscious of global climate change and growing nuclear arms races. Some of the artworks are statements on these problems facing us all. The first piece is called Big Bang. There is no mistaking this piece. It's a bomb. Aside from natural disasters, what is more disruptive than a bomb? Nuclear war threatens the whole world, and this is one concept that needs disruption. As we come across the Montalbaanstoren, we see cracks appearing on the tower. The artist was inspired by the actual cracks in the tower. They represent the natural cracks in society and the rebirth of new ideas and opportunities. Piercing the darkness is a laundry line of illuminated clothes. This piece is called The Neighborhood. Illuminating a positive outlook of neighborhoods coexisting peacefully is what the artist is highlighting. We can. We must. The next piece is one of several shining its light on the rise of sea levels due to global climate change. This piece is called Atlantis and shows a metropolis being swallowed up by the sea. Don't let this beautiful and colorful piece obscure the very real threat facing many cities around the globe. This piece is an explosion frozen in time. It's called Nothing to Hold Us and represents the pushing forward in the face of disruptive moments in our lives. Amsterdam's iconic skinny bridge on the Amstel River is taken apart and redrawn like a Picasso painting. This piece is called Night Drawing. Suddenly, we find ourselves in a gauntlet of paparazzi, snapping pictures, flashbulbs disrupting our senses and blinding our perceptions. Order, disorder. The rings sometimes align themselves in harmony and other times in discord, just like life itself, constantly flowing from chaos to order in a constant cycle. Turning a quarter surprises us with a group of colorful butterflies sitting on the water. This is the butterfly effect. The concept of this piece is that the simple wing movement of a butterfly produces incredible results. So too in life can simple actions make a difference in the world. Called Icebreaker, this is another piece dealing with climate change. It harkens back to a time when the canals regularly froze over, only to be broken up by a canal boat. Remember, the Dutch love skating on natural ice on the canals, and global climate change has disrupted that. The artist's zoo provides the backdrop for this piece, hiding in the wolf's lair. During World War II, the Nazis were all over this area. Hiding in the zoo were 200 to 300 people, some hiding above the wolves' enclosure. Get the feeling you're being watched? Piercing the darkness are the eyes of the Nachtlorders, the night lurkers. An old dock crane lends itself to the transformation in a piece entitled Between the Lines. The artist disrupts the crane's architecture and transforms our old conception into a new one. Surface tension is another work dealing directly with rising sea levels. While Holland has fought the North Sea for centuries, here we have a modern city being reclaimed by the sea. Climate change data is the inspiration for this piece projected onto the Scheepvaart Museum. Called The Ice is Melting at the Poles, the data graph is transformed into a dance of laser light. This piece is called Nobody. In the box is nobody but a robotic arm and a puppet. A shadow is cast on the Nemo Science Center. The concept here is one of technology and humanity. Who actually pulls the strings? As we head back to the town center, Disrupt leaves us with much to think about. Of course, that's a little hard to do at the moment as we marvel at the prachtig Centraal Station and the Nicolaaskerk. The neighborhood we're in now is the Jozebert, the old Jewish quarter. The most famous resident of Amsterdam lived in the Jozebert, just around the corner. Rembrandt Harmazoon van Rijn lived right here from 1639 to 1660. Now seriously, if you haven't been to the Rijksmuseum yet, you can't leave Nederland without seeing Rembrandt's huge masterpiece, The Night Watch. I thought perhaps we'll take a day trip to a city we haven't been to yet. We're taking the train from Centraal Station to the ancient city of Dordrecht. Like Utrecht and Maastricht, the name Dordrecht stems from an ancient Roman river crossing. Modern travelers arrived here at the train station, built in 1872. However, medieval merchants arrived here at the Groothoofspoort,
meaning the main gate. This port dates back to 1618 and is built in a splendid Renaissance style. On the city side of the gate, griffins hold the Stadswapen. On the riverside, the Holland Maiden holds the Stadswapen in one hand and a palm branch in the other. She is surrounded by the Stadswapen of 15 Dutch cities. In the 11th century, Count Dirk III built a castle by the confluence of 3 rivers. Naturally, a town grew up around that castle, and later on, in 1220, Count Willem I granted Dordrecht a city charter. Because of its position, the city became a major shipping port. German wine was shipped through Dordrecht, hence the street name Weinstraat. Here you will find old warehouses from the merchant seamen and stately houses from those that grew wealthy from the shipping industry. Here is an example of one of those stately homes. Dit is in Beverenburg. The Van Beveren family was high up in the echelons of Dordrecht, and this was one of their homes. The gable stone on this Renaissance facade from 1556 depicts 3 beavers climbing a castle. Here is another house belonging to the Van Beveren family. This one was built by Abraham van Beveren in 1650. He was the mayor of Dordrecht. This is called Huis de Onbeschaamde, which translates to embarrassment or shameful. It's because of the nude boy on the pediment. He's holding Abraham's coat of arms in one hand and that of his wife Elizabeth Rausch in the other.
On our Return to Amsterdam episode, we showed you the Trippenhouse mansion built by the wealthy Tripp brothers. Here we have another mansion built by Jacob Tripp, another son of the aristocratic Tripp family.
Known as the Patriciërs House, this fine museum shows off the opulent lifestyle of the Golden Age patricians. Jacob Tripp had this house built in 1650. Much of the Louis XVI style came from a later inhabitant. This was a time period of French rule over the Low Countries. French was all the rage. One thing is for sure, with all the German wine passing through Dordrecht's port, you can bet the guests for dinner were well oiled, if you catch my drift. As we drift through the lavishly furnished rooms, you'll see many paintings from local Dordrecht schilders. This round room is the Maas Room, named because it was built overhanging the Maas River. Offering splendid views of the Three River Junction, the Maas Room was built in 1780 by then-owner Pompeius Hooft. He was a law administrator and politician and is responsible for the Louis XVI remodeling. People always say, if these walls could talk, oh, what a tale they'd tell. The Patriciërs House Museum has films where 3 different owners of the house offer up tales of the times. In the attic, where the servants' quarters were, you can see original drying racks used to dry laundry.
people sure lived well, niet waar? Like many Dutch cities, Dordrecht has several museums worth a visit. The tourist office will have details and brochures, so be sure to stop in.
Surely the fish gable stone on the facade must mean something. In fact, it does. Known as the Crippert Psalm, this was the Fishmongers' Guild in 1608. The street itself is called Fish Street, and the bridge crossing it is the Visbrug. From the bridge, we have a prachtig view of the Stadthouse. The Dordrecht Stadthouse is quite interesting. The foundation is from a Flemish cloth exchange built in 1383. It was taken over by the city and converted into the Stadthouse in 1544. They built the square out front in 1679, and then in the 1800s the facade was added with the lions and staircase.
Warning, Willem bricks for step gables.
One of the oldest styles found in the Low Countries, the step gable comes in many variations, from Gothic to Renaissance. This is Huis de Gouden Sleutel, meaning the golden key. It dates back to 1550 and is in a Flemish Gothic style.
Here is another fine gable I'm sure Willem will break for. Is that him coming now?
Dames and Heren, I present to you the Gouden As, dating from as far back as 1525 and built in a lovely Gothic style.
Now the Central Library, this house was known as Het Vlees, the meat house. After some fixing up, it got the name the Gouden As, the golden ox. Perhaps ox was one of the meats sold at the interior meat hall. Many butchers could be found along the adjacent street. This gable stone tells us that back in 1776, this was the guild house of the skippers and quay workers. The Grote Kerk sits by the harbor, where it has been welcoming ships since the 13th century. Finished in 1284 in a Brabant Gothic style, the Grote Kerk was originally Catholic and became Calvinist Protestant in 1572. Work began on the bell tower in 1339, but it started leaning, so work stopped. And then in 1460, they added the clocks. Between 1618 and 1619, Dordrecht played host to the Synod of Dort, where the hardliners debated the tenets of Calvinism.
Historical trading port at the point of Three Rivers. This city is certainly worthy of a longer visit, but for right now, we're heading back to Amsterdam.
Winter brings out a certain charm. With its soft light and bare trees, the magic of this salty city is more noticeable in wintertime. Well, that's all the time we have. I hope you've enjoyed our winter trip to Amsterdam. I'm Veronica Lewis. Tot de volgende keer.